Lesson number 2, October 1 through the 7th, Death in a Sinful World. Sabbath afternoon, October 1st. Memory text, Romans 5:12 says, "Therefore, just as through one man sin entered the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men, because all sinned." Christ was the divine agent through whom God brought the universe and the world into existence. John 1:1-3 and verse 10, Colossians 1:16 and Hebrews 1:2. But when God the Father conferred special honor on Christ and announced that they together would create this world, Lucifer was envious and jealous of Jesus Christ, according to the book The Story of Redemption, page 14, and plotted against him. Having been cast out of heaven, Satan decided to destroy the happiness of Adam and Eve on the earth and thereby cause grief in heaven. He imagined that if he could in any way beguile them, Adam and Eve, to disobedience, God would make some provision whereby they might be pardoned, and then himself and all the fallen angels would be in a fair way to share with them of God's mercy. That's from the book The Story of Redemption, page 27. Fully aware of Satan's strategy, God warned Adam and Eve not to expose themselves to temptation. Genesis 2:16 and 17. This means that even when the world was still perfect and blameless, there were already clear restrictions for human beings to follow. This week we will reflect on the fall of Adam and Eve and how sin and death took over our worlds, and on how God planted a seed of hope for humanity even back in Eden. From the book The Story of Redemption, page 14, it says, "When all the angels bowed to Jesus to acknowledge his supremacy and high authority and rightful rule, Lucifer bowed with them, but his heart was filled with envy and hatred. Christ had been taken into the special counsel of God in regard to his plans, while Lucifer was unacquainted with them. He did not understand, neither was he permitted to know the purposes of God. But Christ was acknowledged sovereign of heaven, his power and authority to be the same as that of God the Father himself. Lucifer thought that he was himself a favorite in heaven among the angels. He had been highly exalted, but this did not call forth from him gratitude and praise to his Creator. He aspired to the height of God himself. He gloried in his loftiness. He had been near the great Creator, and the ceaseless beams of glorious light enshrouding the eternal God had shone especially upon him. He thought how angels had obeyed his commands with pleasurable alacrity. Were not his garments light and beautiful? Why should Christ thus be honored before himself?" From the same book, page 24, it says, "In the midst of the garden, and near the tree of life, stood the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This tree was especially designed of God to be the pledge of their obedience, faith, and love to him. Of this tree the Lord commanded our first parents not to eat, neither to touch it, lest they die. He told them that they might freely eat of all the trees in the garden except one. But if they ate of that tree, they should surely die. When Adam and Eve were placed in the beautiful garden, they had everything for their happiness which they could desire. But God chose, in his all-wise arrangements, to test their loyalty before they could be rendered eternally secure. They were to have his favor, and he was to converse with them, and they with him. Yet he did not place evil out of their reach. Satan was permitted to tempt them. If they endured the trial, they were to be in a perpetual favor with God and the heavenly angels. Have a blessed Sabbath.